Hi, welcome to another Radiant Health Dialogue series. I'm your host, Dr. Roxanne George, and we are part of HippocratesDocs.com, and we are talking about a topic of breast cancer today. So thank you, Dr. Manish and Chawla and Dr. Bandana Chawla for joining us today. We so appreciate your time and welcome you to this wonderful series on breast cancer.
Thank you for having us, Roxanne. It's our pleasure. Breast cancer is such an epidemic right now that anything we can do to try to reduce our risk is definitely worth talking about.
Yeah, thank you very much. We're excited to be here.
Absolutely. We're so excited to have you, and we have tons of questions. Our topic with you today is lifestyle medicine in the prevention, treatment, and maintenance of being breast cancer and maintenance of being breast cancer free. But could you start off by just telling us a little bit about your journey into, lifestyle medicine, plant-based nutrition, and all of that?
Sure. So I'll start. I've been an internal medicine physician for 20 years, very much trained in offering pills and procedures to my patients until 2012, when I started getting a lot of vegan and plant-based patients. And they are not shy about wanting to educate you and tell you that they're feeling better and their numbers are better. So that caused me to do my research. And beginning of 2013 is when I became plant-based. And then 2018 is when I found out about the new field of lifestyle medicine. And we both took the board exam the end of 2018 and got board certified in lifestyle medicine. And it's just been amazing because it's really helped us improve our own health, our kids' health, and our patients' health.
Yeah, and I got interested because she was interested in lifestyle medicine, and I see her, telling me about stories that, this patient is getting off this diabetes medication, I'm lowering the hypertension medication on this patient, and I'm thinking, I went to medical school, I never, no one ever decreased medications or got off medications completely. So there's something to this. And we take evening walks and, she would kind of tell me about her day and it got me inspired. So when she was studying for the lifestyle medicine boards, I said, okay, I'm going to study also. At that time, I had no idea that I was going to, change my career from radiology to lifestyle medicine. But, one thing led to another. And now we have a clinic devoted to primary care and lifestyle medicine. So we're both excited and happy to spread the word.
Yeah, that's amazing. What you're doing with your clinic and how you're helping your patients, building this amazing practice and community, really. You guys do so much outside, really, the office that helps your patients. And we'll talk more about that later, too. So let's get into lifestyle medicine, because I'm sure people are maybe not as familiar with what exactly that entails. So could you kind of go into the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine and how that, works?
Sure. I'll start off and we'll just kind of go back and forth. So anything, lifestyle medicine, as you mentioned, rests on 6 pillars. And the number 1 pillar or the foundational pillar is food. And since this is an evidence-based field, they're not going for the latest fad, what is popular on social media. We look at research. We look at peer-reviewed research, what is it that's healthy for folks to eat? And it's predominantly a plant-based diet. 90 to 95% of your calories need to come from whole plant foods. And this is something American Institute of Cancer Research, World Health Organization, American College of Cardiology, major organizations all agree that we need to increase fruits and vegetables in our diet. And that's foundational for good health. And you want to do the next one?
Yeah, sure. Before we go through all the pillars, I just want to state that lifestyle medicine came into being because CDC reported numbers saying that over 80% of chronic diseases in the Western world are due to our diet and lifestyle.
Yeah, and I like 80%.
Yeah.
80%, and that includes, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, cancers, and autoimmune diseases. So then it makes sense that we should address the root cause, that we should address diet and exercise to prevent, manage, and even reverse these diseases. So the second pillar after nutrition is exercise. And exercise, even when we think in terms of breast cancer, is also very important because we know that women who are sedentary are more likely to get breast cancer than women who exercise regularly. What is recommended by lifestyle medicine is to try to get 150 minutes a week of exercise in if you're trying to maintain your health. If you're trying to lose weight or reverse chronic diseases, then it needs to go up to 300 minutes, even up to 420 minutes a week. And they do recommend all three aspects of exercise, which is cardiovascular and endurance, which we would get with running, biking, swimming, flexibility and balance, which I've been really good about doing yoga for the last decade or so. And then the third part is strength and resistance training, which we haven't been good about. I've not done it for 47 years of my life. But now, because lifestyle medicine wants the lifestyle physicians to practice what they preach, we have brought in strength and resistance training. About 2 times a week is what's recommended, and that's what we're trying to do as well.
Yeah.
And I think for women, tend to almost avoid resistance training. So I think that's really important to emphasize, that not to be scared of the dumbbells and, look, you're not going to look bulky or look like a man. And, resistance training, is super important, especially for bone health as well. I try to remind my patients that, osteoporosis is a real thing. And it, even for my adolescent patients that,
Yes, absolutely. You're correct. And I did not know that. And I have it's too late for me to do that. But adolescence exercise is really important as well for osteoporosis prevention down the road.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, moving on, the next thing, or the next pillar in lifestyle medicine, is stress management. And I just recently came across a quote. It said, "It's not the load that wears us down, it's the way we carry it." So if we can find healthier tools to carry that load, we can find healthy ways to manage our stress, then we can do a lot better. And this is not just for emotional health, it's actually for physical health. When you are managing your stress effectively, with good techniques such as yoga, meditation, gardening, anything, playing piano, any musical instrument that you enjoy playing, anything that kind of gets you out of the rat race. And this, there's so much research now which shows that these things lower your stress hormones. They improve the gut microbiome. They decrease inflammation. So all of these things together not just give you better emotional health, they also give you better physical health. And really what I like to say, to be holistically healthy, you need to, eat good food, exercise, find effective ways of managing your stress. And there's more.
Yeah. So the next pillar is avoidance of tobacco and limiting alcohol. So tobacco part, I'm not going to go into too much because that I feel like public is well aware of. Media has done a good job. We know that smoking increases our risk for various cancers and also heart disease. Alcohol is something that I do want to mention, especially in terms of breast cancer, because there is plenty of evidence now that shows that women who don't drink at all are at much lower risk of breast cancer than women who drink. And women who drink, it's not heavy drinkers. So the studies are showing that even 3 alcoholic drinks a week increase the risk for breast cancer for women.
Yeah, absolutely. And, continuing on the lifestyle, the other thing that's really important is getting good quality sleep. And this sort of goes hand in hand with sort of stress management. If you don't have effective stress management techniques, you're not going to be, in most cases, not going to be able to get a good night's sleep. And all these things work together. I mean, we're sort of, separating them or categorizing them, do this, this, and that. But when you do all of these things together, there's real synergy. And that's where real health, emotional health, spiritual health, physical health, holistic health, that's when all of these things happen. So when you get a good night's sleep, your stress hormones are lower, your cortisol is lower. And they even show even not sleeping well for a couple of nights can increase your insulin resistance. And we know just increase in insulin resistance, diabetics have a higher chance of cancers, in addition to heart disease, dementia, and other things, just even increases a risk for cancer. So good night's sleep, getting that rest that our body and mind need are really important.
And the sixth and last pillar of lifestyle medicine is healthy relationships or community. Human beings are social creatures, so that aspect is also very important for our health. There are plenty of studies showing that loneliness is a risk factor of itself. People with heart disease after they've had a heart attack, if they have loneliness, they are more likely to die in the next few months, as opposed to people who have good support system. The other part of community that I really want to mention is there are plenty of studies showing that when we hang around with healthy people, we get healthy. And when our close friends get obese, it really increases our risk of becoming obese. So, when you look at places like blue zones where people live really long and healthy lives, it's really easy to be healthy because everybody around you is healthy. Like we like to say, the healthy choice is the easy choice there. But in our culture, healthy choice is a hard choice. So I really tell people to go seek out communities that are trying to get healthy. And that's partially what we really want to provide at our clinic with our walk with the doc or, group potlucks or things like that, is provide that community, because we realize that it's not just us helping them that helps the patients get healthier, it's them helping each other. So when they hang out with other people who are on that path, there are people who are ahead of us, who they look up to try to see how to make themselves better. And there are people behind them who are just starting on this journey of plant-based medicine, plant-based diet or lifestyle medicine. And it really helps for them to help them out, to help them come further. So that whole community is very important.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I can say that you two are definitely people that I look up to, and I try to motivate myself towards what you all have already achieved. So I will definitely tell you that. Also, I thought it was interesting with the obesity percentages, like if you have like a friend that's obese, you're like 50% more likely.
Yeah.
A friend of a friend. Well, it was something like 20% or 50%.
Right. Yeah, like 57%, and 28%. A friend of a friend becomes obese, and so your family member is 30-something%. Right. And really, there's real power in that study because it showed if your neighbor gets obese, there's almost no correlation. So typically, we don't spend time, very much time with our neighbors. So it makes perfect sense. Whoever you spend the more time with, they're going to influence you more. So it really validates the study that it's not just random, that, we're getting obese when people around us are getting obese. So, yeah.
Yeah, I just thought that was so profound, the way that study was done and the percentages and how that ended up working out. So I wanted to go back a little bit, and with breast cancer especially, community, these support groups have been shown to be so helpful. Obviously support during, time of diagnosis and treatment. Could you talk a little bit about those studies and how that has been, shown in particular with cancers?
Yeah, so I believe cancer survivors in general, and especially breast cancer survivors, it really helps to have that support group. So not just in terms of family members that are supportive, but also in terms of other people who have survived breast cancer. And that community and the support that provides improves quality of life and decreases depression, and improves overall survival, I believe.
Yeah, there's also, data on showing that there is, better survival if those that are part of a support group.
Yeah, and it was pretty significant if I remember correctly. So
Yeah, I'm forgetting the numbers,
Yeah,
but
me
yeah.
too.
I want to say 50 or 60% at least quality of life improvement, but pretty significant. I don't want to misquote it. But also when we were talking about one of the other pillars of alcohol consumption, I know just from colleagues in my office and my neighbors and friends, drinking wine and red wine has become more and more popular, on a sort of almost daily basis, if not like a weekend basis, because there's some, understanding that maybe red wine is not as bad as we used to think, that red wine has some benefits, so you should at least have one glass of red wine a night, and of course if you have one you may have three. So could you kind of speak to that impact a little bit more?
Yeah, I think that people have that assumption because of some of the antioxidants in red wine, resveratrol being a big one. But with everything, you have to look at risk versus benefit ratio, right? So yes, resveratrol is there in red wine, but it's not the only source of resveratrol. You can definitely get resveratrol from the red grapes. That's how the red wine gets it. And many other fruits and vegetables that are that color will have those antioxidants and phytonutrients. Alcohol is a toxin. There is just no doubt about that. And it is harmful in so many ways, besides, liver damage and things that we're familiar with. For one thing, alcohol is what we use in hospitals, right? To sanitize everything and get rid of all the bacteria. Well, it also gets rid of a lot of the good bacteria in our gut. And since we're so focused these days on gut microbiome and people are taking probiotics and all sorts of things to improve their gut microbiome, one of the things that we should also be doing is not drinking alcohol that kills that gut microbiome. You probably have a few things that I'm forgetting.
Yeah, and like she mentioned, alcohol is a toxin, so it's damaging to every cell in our body. It damages our DNA, makes us increased risk for cancer, liver cancer, breast cancer, which we're specifically talking about today, and it's a neurotoxin. There are increased risk of dementia. And all of these things, food is a package. There may be something beneficial, but if most of the thing that food brings into us is unhealthy, then maybe we'll look at the healthier package. Maybe we can get the resveratrol, but not get the neurotoxin, not get the liver toxin, not get something that's damaging to our gut microbiota. So, you have to, look at food as a package.
Yes, I love talking about the benefits of diet with that, packaging, because we can get so much, we can still, get the resveratrol in a better package that comes with more nutrients and not more, harm, right? So yeah. I love to go back to that, especially with plant-based foods, because it's so healthy and it comes in such a good package. So let's go back to some of the recommendations. The American Cancer Institute, there have been 10 recommendations. If you want to kind of delve into that a little bit.
Yeah, actually I printed that out. Let me find it here. So in 2018, American Institute of Cancer Research came up with this wonderful expert report on diet and physical activity and cancer prevention. And they gave, well, I don't know how well you can see. Anyways, I will read them to you. The 10 recommendations that they gave is be a healthy weight. And then again, that same healthy diet, plant-based diet and exercise can help you be a healthy weight. Be physically active. And that's exercise pillar that we've talked about. Eat a diet rich in whole grains, vegetables, fruits, and beans. So mainly a plant-based diet. Limit consumption of fast foods and other processed foods or high in starches and sugars. So again, taking out the processed foods and animal foods. Limit consumption of red and processed meat. Limit consumption of sugar-sweetened drinks. Limit alcohol consumption. Do not use supplements for cancer prevention. For mothers, breastfeed your babies if you can, And after cancer diagnosis, follow these recommendations as well.
So it's the same recommendations that you have for preventing breast cancer. And if you were, by chance were to be diagnosed with this cancer, it's the same recommendations that are going to lead to better outcomes. It's going to reduce the recurrence rate. It's going to increase our longevity, decrease our morbidity and mortality when you follow these recommendations. And this is not something that's controversial. I keep reminding my patients, there's really not any controversy in the peer-reviewed medical literature. What we need to do to stay healthy, whether it's to not get breast cancer or not get diabetes or dementia, is the same diet and lifestyle. You need to be a healthy weight, eat mostly plants, exercise, find effective ways of managing your stress, find some community, and get a good night's sleep. I mean, it's really that simple.
I think it's interesting that those recommendations pretty much line up exactly with lifestyle medicine.
Yeah. Yes, yes. And I was so disappointed when I saw that 2018, they came up with this big expert report and just didn't get out to the public though.
Right. It's always slow to disseminate into public knowledge. I think that's always so sad that, it takes something like 20 years for research that is, known in the research community and by some of these institutes to actually filter into public knowledge. So it's, but we're here trying to help.
Yes. This is why Roxanne is here, and we're here to get the message out.
Yeah. I found it interesting because I've seen that before, and I wonder if you guys could unpack it a little bit or, kind of talk about it more about the supplements in prevention, because I think people love to look for different supplements and like a pill to fix it. Could you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Sure. And, I'll start off with the word supplement. So it's something that's needed, your healthy diet, and you can supplement some of these things if you're not able to get everything. I mean, you can't have a crappy diet and take a bunch of supplement pills and say, okay, I'm all good. And really, supplements is big multi-billion-dollar industry, and they're going to be, advertising and get you to buy their product just like any other product. But our human body or human biology is so complex. So just to kind of give you an example, if we have enough iron stores, you eat a bunch of spinach and your body says, okay, I have enough iron, so it absorbs that less. It says, I need more calcium or potassium or magnesium at this time. So it preferentially takes those nutrients from the spinach and absorbs them and leaves the iron behind. When you're taking an iron supplement, which I know can be important for childbearing women at times, they may need it. But in general, we want to get our iron from our food, from spinach and other leafy greens, because the body is good at regulating. It knows how much it needs and it knows how much to extract. But when we take supplements, we override that mechanism. And you can think of the same thing. There's some things that can potentially harmful. So supplements are something, for whatever reason, if we have a deficiency, something we may need for a short term, something that we need as a supplement. It can't be in place of a healthy diet and lifestyle.
Absolutely. In a plant-based eating, there are just a couple of supplements we recommend, but I wanted to highlight that for, specific ages like 65 and up, pretty much, everyone should be taking a vitamin B12, because it's been found not to really be in foods anymore, or meats and things. But could you speak to, that the bare minimum requirements or, what we recommend?
Yeah, so vitamin B12 is one that I do recommend that definitely my vegan and plant-based patients take. There are a lot of actually my non-vegan patients who are also coming back low in B12. And like you said, it's not present so much in food, but it's also not being absorbed well by those people. So part of the absorption of B12 also requires a healthy gut microbiome. And several of the people who are eating high processed food and animal food diet, their gut microbiome doesn't allow good absorption of B12. And some of them, they can't even take B12 orally, like I said, because it's not getting absorbed. They have to do B12 shots. And that I'm seeing more in people with unhealthy diet who have absorption issues. So in terms of the amount that we should be taking, it should be about 1,000 milligrams to 2,000 milligrams a week. And, you know, I tell people, get your levels checked so you know what you're taking is getting absorbed, how you think it's getting absorbed, and if the numbers are fine, then you can continue that dose. And you want to go over why foods don't have B12?
Yeah, I mean, we can, you know, quickly talk about that. And, you know, it's not that B12 is inherently present in animal foods. It's basically B12 comes from bacteria. And in our sanitary society, we pretty much, you know, sort of wipe the place clean, which is good. We're not getting cholera and diphtheria. But on the downside is these bacteria that did provide us with B12 are no longer in our environment. They're in the grasses, they're in wild streams and things. And that's where the animals are getting them from. And actually, even the grasses have been so damaged by pesticides and herbicides that livestock in this country is supplemented by B12. So you can take the B12 first given to livestock and then you eat the livestock, or you can just kind of bypass the livestock and take the B12 supplement yourself. And in doing so, you're not going to get the saturated fat, the animal protein, all the other unhealthy things that come with eating, you know, animal foods.
Absolutely. And so I guess I also want to decipher, there are some supplements that, you know, are needed to just be healthy, like, you know, B12 and maybe some vitamin D if you're low. But in general, some of those herbal or, you know, cancer, you know, things that are marketed as, you know, maybe cancer prevention or treatment supplements aren't necessarily a good idea.
Yeah, no, very good point. And they can be actually even harmful because, you know, there's not good even quality control on some of those supplements. And again, we want to go back to published peer-reviewed research. If there's good data, it's peer-reviewed, then, you know, we can take it with a little more, I hate to use the word certainty because there's a lot of shenanigans even in that, but certainly that's the minimum requirement that needs to happen if I'm going to put something in my body. Has it been studied by multiple studies? Is the predominant of evidence shows that this is something healthy? And you brought up vitamin D, and this is another thing. It's, you know, mistakenly called a vitamin D, but it's actually a hormone. So it's not something nature designed for us to get in our foods. 90% of our vitamin D comes from the sun. It's something, there's an enzyme in our skin, which is activated with the sun. And all of us are, you know, sitting inside doing these conferences, you know, doing our daily work. We're always inside. So we're not getting the sun exposure as we once did. So whether you're eating one diet or another diet, most of us in this country are not getting enough sun exposure. And in fact, most of the patients that we see are low in vitamin D. So it's another thing that we may need to supplement. And again, like my wife mentioned, you know, check your levels. And, you know, sometimes you may need to take a higher dose and sometimes you may be okay. So this is something that we can very easily check.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there are, you know, plant-based or vegan sources of these vitamins that we can, you know, choose that would be a healthier supplement when we need it. So, you know, in talking about, you know, bacteria and this biome, there's so many different things that impact our biome. And it's so important in cancer prevention and, you know, during treatment. Could we talk more about you know, how lifestyle medicine addresses the biome from so many different ways and how that, you know, impacts breast cancer?
Yeah, so it seems like lifestyle medicine, now that I think about it, is also good for the microbiome. They want to practice lifestyle medicine too, it seems. I think about all the things like nutrition, right? The good gut bacteria, they thrive on fiber and resistant starch, which is of course found in plant-based foods. And they kind of die off with processed foods and too much animal foods. So, you know, if we're not eating a healthy plant-based diet for ourselves, at least we should eat it for our good bacteria. Same thing with exercise and sleep. It turns out that they have their own circadian rhythm. So a lot of times I like tell my teenage boys that even though you guys don't think you need that much sleep, your gut bacteria do. So you need to sleep for their sake.
I love that.
Same thing with exercise. exercising improves our gut microbiome, and especially exercising outdoors in nature, even being close to trees and grasses, and gardening really improves our gut microbiome. So yeah, it seems like they want us to practice lifestyle medicine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that, the fresh air, you get your vitamin D. I mean, it all all overlaps and, works together. And I love the synergy that lifestyle medicine always kind of, talks about and promotes, that it's not just one thing that's going to, be your silver bullet, like, well, I'm going to eat more spinach and that should be enough. Or, you can be on a plant-based diet and stressed, and so, not having good stress management and sleep, and maybe still overweight, and, there's still going to be, you're not going to be optimizing your prevention of disease and cancer. So everything works together, and we try to optimize all of those facets. So could you talk about also how, obesity influences that?
Sure. And, when you are eating a healthy, whole food, plant-based diet, your body's going to find its natural weight sort of thermostat. And this is something we've really learned from the Adventist health studies. And these folks are in general healthy. They exercise, they have good stress management, they get good night's sleep, they have good community. They really are taught to treat their body as the temple. But within this community, there are some dietary variations. And people who are omnivores in this community, then they've breaking them down into lacto-ovo-vegetarians, pescatarians, and those who are vegan. And as you go down from omnivore to pescatarian to lacto-ovo-vegetarian and to vegan, the ones who have the lowest BMI are the vegans. So this is just naturally, when you're eating mostly plants, these things are so calorie dilute, you're going to get to a healthy body weight. And when you have a healthy body weight, then all the excess obesity, that's going to raise your estrogen. It's going to raise the inflammation in the body. And all of these things, they detract from health from chronic diseases. They increase your risk for breast cancer, whether it's through the inflammation axis, through higher hormones such as estrogen. So all these things, again, sort of work together. So that's why maintaining a healthy body weight is so important, not just to prevent diabetes, but also to prevent and lower your risk of breast cancer.
So I in my mind, I try to envision how people are watching this, and they say, well, I want to maintain a healthy body weight. The only way I know how to do it is on a low carb diet. And if I'm on a low carb diet, Dr. Chawla, I can't eat, potatoes and fruits are bad for my diabetes. So how do you, expect me to eat plant-based and control my diabetes and, be low carb? I can't do it. So pretend I'm that patient.
Yeah, no, I have had those patients. So the low carb diet, for a lot of patients, it does help them reduce their weight short term. I've seen that in plenty of patients. However, for most people, that is not very sustainable, and they do tend to increase their weight again. And that yo-yo of increase, decrease is actually worse for our health. So what I often bring up with diet is that my goal as a primary care physician is not just weight loss. It is good health long-term for decades to come. There are many things that can help you lose weight, right? Cocaine will make you lose weight. Smoking will make you lose weight, but those things are not healthy for us. So we want to not just lose weight, but we want to do it in a way that's healthy for our body. And then I like to cite the blue zones. The blue zones, of course, are areas of the world where people are living really long lives, but really healthy lives. So these centenarians, people living over 100, at 102, 103, they're not bed-bound. They don't have dementia. They are still biking to their local grocery store to what they need for the day. So, these blue zones have 1/5 the rate of dementia. We have 1/5 the rate of cancer, 1/5 the rate of heart disease. And so we need to be doing things the way they're doing. And it turns out that they're kind of been practicing lifestyle medicine all along. They don't know anything about lifestyle medicine. They don't know the terms vegan or vegetarian. But about 17, 18 of their 21 meals a week happen to be plant-based. And there is absolutely no blue zone at all where they're practicing a low carb diet or a keto diet or a paleo diet. Most of the blue zones, about 80% of their calories are coming from some kind of carbohydrates, healthy carbohydrates. Okinawa, Japan, for instance, I believe over 60% of their calories come from sweet potatoes. So yeah, it requires a little bit of, informing people, because it's not our fault. It's the media and all the noise around us that has us confused on what we should be eating.
I'm going to add a little bit to that. And, folks sort of lump carbohydrates in one category. So, eating a Twinkie or cookies and cakes, these are carbohydrates also, but they're processed. So they have processed sugar, processed flour, and also a lot of fat. So it's not just one thing. So it is, but then there are the healthy carbs that we get from fruits, from vegetables, from beans, from legumes, whole grains. So definitely, when you are switching from the standard American diet, which is heavy on animal product and processed foods, and you eliminate the processed foods, when you go on a low carb diet to a large extent, you are going to see some benefit. You are going to lose some weight.
Because you're no longer eating those Twinkies and donuts and muffins and cakes and pies and pretzels. And you are taking out those bad carbs, which we absolutely recommend that you take them out.
Mm-hmm. But, we don't want to, take the baby out with the bathwater. We want to eat the fruits. We want to eat the broccoli and the cauliflower, because these are the things, whole plant foods. That's, I guess, one thing I'm going to really kind of repeat myself a bunch of times, that I don't want people to be scared of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates is where we get the nutrition. All plant foods, aside from avocado, nuts, and seeds, are high in carbohydrates. And the longest living people in the world eat a diet that's high in carbohydrates. So if you're getting your carbohydrates from whole plant foods, it is nothing but it's going to increase your health, get you at a normal BMI, reduce your risk for cancer, especially breast cancer, all cancers really, reduce your risk for diabetes, heart disease, and dementia, because this is what the research shows over and over.
So in general, I tell my patients, eat the nature-made carbs, the carbs that grow from the ground, but not man-made carbs that are made in a factory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remind my pediatric patients, eat more from the farm than the factory. So it's kind of like a good way of just sort of approaching it. So I think that puts it in a, good sense. And, I also want to talk about, if somebody's already been diagnosed with breast cancer, and they're, faced with this, terrible, diagnosis, and they're saying, well, it's too late. I got breast cancer. And so, I'm going to go through the treatment, and then I guess I'll try to figure things out later. I mean, just sort of, could you talk about how it's, wonderful to try to make these changes even during treatment and after?
Absolutely. Yeah. So for breast cancer prevention, absolutely these things should be done, but, breast cancer is 1 in 8 women. So it's very common. So we also need to talk about what we can do after the diagnosis. And one of the people that I followed with that information is Dr. Christy Funk. She's a big celebrity breast surgeon, but she's also very passionate about breast cancer prevention and also treatment and long-term survival. And her book, Breast, the Owner's Manual, is an excellent book on that topic for anybody who wants to read that. So basically what we know is that same lifestyle medicine principles help after the diagnosis as well. Let's take obesity, for instance. We were just talking about that. So obesity increases our risk for breast cancer, but it's also clear that obesity, if it continues after breast cancer, increases the risk for recurrence. So oncologists should be telling all the breast cancer patients who are obese that they will really improve their outcome if they get to normal BMI at this point. Same thing with nutrition. Eating a predominantly whole food plant-based diet will absolutely improve your survival long term. Exercise, another thing. We know that women who exercise after the diagnosis of breast cancer are less likely to have recurrence. Stress management, MBSR, which I'll have you talk about, has been shown to really improve survival as well. So the same stuff that we should be doing for prevention, like AICR, American Institute of Cancer Research, said that follow these recommendations if you get diagnosed with breast cancer.
Right. And it's, I've seen actually in, my own community where if they kind of change over to more whole food, plant-based foods as the predominance of their diet, they actually can tolerate chemo and radiation better, it seems, so the treatments aren't as, traumatizing to their bodies. Have you heard of some studies with that? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. We're actually looking at one study. It's called Breast Cancer, a Lifestyle Medicine Approach. And it kind of goes over a lot of the things that we've been talking about. And what they're showing is those who are eating a whole food plant-based diet, they are able to better handle chemotherapy and radiation therapy. They're not getting the nausea. They're not getting as much sort of chronic damage. There's, oftentimes nerve damage, all sorts of other side effects, fatigue. All these treatments are much better tolerated when people are on a whole food plant-based diet. Another thing that helps quite a bit is exercise. So those women who've been exercising and continue their exercise through the treatment, they have less fatigue. They have not just, feel better, they actually have better outcomes. So their rate of recurrence and ultimate, mortality is improved if they do exercise. And my wife mentioned even healthy ways to manage our stress. There's a lot of buzz in the media now about mindfulness-based stress reduction. Yeah. So they have actually done a lot of studies which show that this is not just helpful in emotional health, but this can help, cancer patients with cancer in terms of better outlook, better outcomes, and just even better survival. So as you mentioned before, all these things work together. It's not like we're checking boxes, but when you eat healthy, when you move, you manage your stress well, get a good night's sleep, stay away from alcohol and cigarettes and find healthy ways to engage with other people and have a supportive community. All these things work to not just prevent breast cancer, but if you have that diagnosis, they're going to reduce your rate of recurrence and also increase your survival. So it's not, one diet before and another diet afterwards. It's not one lifestyle before, another lifestyle afterwards. All these things are relevant even after the diagnosis. And I would say they're even more important after the diagnosis, because now, you've kind of gotten a warning sign. You can really do a lot to help yourself. Okay, you've got the diagnosis and you go through the treatment that you need to, and it'll support you during the treatment, but it'll also support you in feeling better, having better outcomes, longer survival. So, the whole gamut.
Yeah, and I'm going to bring in a little personal thing here. Roxanne, you've met my mother-in-law, and she is a breast cancer survivor. She was diagnosed with it before I even married her son, so over 22 years ago. And she really did lifestyle medicine. We didn't know about it, but she realized that she was going to really change things. So she has been exercising regularly. She eats a plant-based diet. She actually became vegan at the age of 83 to make things even healthier. And she, does her meditation every day, and she goes out for a little walk every day, and she's very social, as you remember. So all of that has really, at 86 now, she is a very healthy woman. And in a way that breast cancer was perhaps something that caused her to change things, which has made things better in so many other aspects of her life. It's improved things in terms of her heart, her mobility, and so many other things that maybe she would not have if she didn't have that. So we can use it as an opportunity to really bring lifestyle medicine into our lives.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think it still speaks to us a lot when we have those, personal stories and anecdotes that we hear from friends and family and neighbors. And, it really kind of touches us, right? Because, wow, that could be my mom, or that could be my grandmother, and, or me or my sister. And so I think that's, thank you for sharing that. And yes, she's a bundle of energy. So yes, I remember her. We just have a few more minutes. I could talk to you guys for hours. You're always so full of such great information and such a great proponent for lifestyle medicine. But I want to delve into a little bit of what you guys are doing in your office, and how people can reach out to you too.
Okay, so as I mentioned, we've created this clinic. It's primary care clinic. So my wife does, that part, but she also does some lifestyle medicine. But if they really need sort of intensive lifestyle intervention, then we've created these programs. So, we have program for diabetes reversal, heart disease reversal, hypertension, and even autoimmune diseases like lupus and rheumatoid arthritis. And first time I mentioned this to patients, I mean, they've been sort of somewhat introduced by my wife. They're still sort of incredulous. So if I do this, my diabetes is going to go away. So, and I tell them, you don't have to believe me, talk to other patients who've already done this, and not just our program, but you can just, just Google this. So all these chronic diseases are not just preventable and treatable, they're reversible. And the key to it is, eating a whole food plant-based diet. So we have a holistic nutritionist on our team, and Vandana and I are helping them transition to a healthier whole food plant-based diet. We have support. So they come to plant-based potlucks. We encourage them to move around. We do walk with a doc every month. We also encourage healthy ways to manage stress. And I'm personally passionate about teaching as many people who are interested about mindfulness meditation. So we do meditation, every first Saturday and every third Saturday. We used to do yoga in person. Some of these events, walk with a dog, yoga and meditation were in person, but now with COVID, we're doing a lot of these things online, but even the potlucks online. So that's actually an opportunity. So people who could physically drive to our office, they would come to the potluck, but now you can be anywhere. And we're happy for anyone watching this to just join us on our potluck. You can just go to our website. It's lifestyledocs.com and go under events, and all the events that we're doing, whether it's potluck or walk with a dog or meditation or yoga, it's all listed there. And, most of the events are free. We just want to build a healthy community. As my wife mentioned, folks in the blue zones, they're not smarter than us. They don't have more willpower than us, but they have a community. They have a system where people around them are eating healthy, moving healthy, and managing their stress in a healthful manner. And if we can build that same community here, I think it'll make the transition from our recumbent and sort of not so healthy lifestyle and, eating healthier by really introducing that there are other people doing this. There is a healthy community that they too can take a part in. So thank you for asking.
Yeah, I just want to say, since most of the events are virtual now, anybody anywhere can join. So your audience are welcome to join us. You don't have to be our patient to be part of our community. So like he said, just go on our website, and if it's meditation time, just click on the Google Meet link there and join us. Or if it's potluck time, click on the Zoom Meet link there and join us. Yeah, and we're on Facebook and Instagram. So if you have any questions or if you want to just reach out, we're happy to connect.
Yeah, I mean, what a wonderful service you're doing for everyone in that community, and, building this community more and more. I think it's just amazing, how much of a service you're providing to everyone, because, it's sometimes hard, right? Because if you all are located near Houston, and so if somebody's hearing this in Colorado and they're like, oh, I wish I had somebody like that here. Well, if there was a silver lining to this pandemic, a lot of things have become virtual. And so now you too can join the Dr. Chawlas and in their virtual and, potlucks and all their activities. So I think that's fantastic. And thank you for providing that for everyone.
Of course, and we just also want to acknowledge all the wonderful work you're doing in the plant-based space. spreading this word and making everyone around you and, and Houston healthy.
Oh, well, you're very sweet. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Anytime people ask me for their kids, a doctor, a pediatrician, I'm like, Dr. George.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, thank you, thank you. Yes, I have some of my patients are from. They're like the Dr. Vandana Chawla sent me, and they're driving. They're driving really far, and thank you so much for for sending them our way, and it's just my privilege and honor to be able to be part of this community and actually heal people, and and unfortunately in pediatrics it is reversal now. You would think you wouldn't see so much, but in today's sort of obesity epidemic, we are talking about reversal. So yeah, thank you for that opportunity. So guys, final thoughts. We just have a couple more minutes, and if there's anything else you wanted to put out there, that's
just that breast cancer is very common, but it's not something that has to overwhelm us. We can take steps, we can empower ourselves to try to prevent it. And if we have it, we can definitely still take steps to have better outcomes and prevent recurrence.
And it's the same diet that's going to prevent breast cancer. It's the same diet that's going to get you to a healthy BMI, same diet that's going to prevent heart disease and diabetes. Just eat more plants.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Always such a pleasure. I'm sure we'll be talking again soon. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Dr. George.
Thank you, Dr. George.
Thank you.